Today we've landed at the beating heart of music itself, Nashville, Music City. You know, there's something about this place that just resonates with creativity. The culture, the energy, the history, and at the center of it all, Gibson Guitar. Which is why I'm here today, to catch up with our friend Mat, creative mind behind custom guitars at Gibson. We'll dive into the world of music, guitars, inspiration, and who knows, maybe even share a bottle of Cardinale along the way.
Excuse me, sir, can I help you with anything?
Matt, how you doing?
How's it going?
It's going great. Good to see you.
Well, welcome to the Gibson Garage. This is like one of the coolest guitar spaces in the world. So this is our artist lounge area. So this is where we have artists here to, test guitars, test amplifiers, talk guitars. It's also where we're going to be chatting ourselves. So you want to check it out?
Help me out. What is it that you do?
Great question. I started being a guitar geek in my career, but I always wanted to work for Gibson. I was most passionate about Gibson guitars. I am running all product, like everything we make, from guitars, basses, but also mandolins.
So you've got to juggle this group of artisans to get them to come together to create a singular piece that they're all contributing to.
Yeah. And you play trombone, is that right?
I play trombone.
That's right.
And so I'm looking at all these beautiful instruments. Where's the brass? I use sound as a way to frame a lot of what I do from a flavor standpoint. That connection between how music blends sound and has timbre and has tone and has rhythm and pace. Wine has that same thing, and flavor, and what wine can do to combine flavor and mouthfeel and all those things have almost identical corollaries to one another, to sound.
Talking about wine is making me thirsty.
Let's share a glass of wine together.
Sounds great.
Cheers, Matt. Thank you again. When you're designing guitars, how are you thinking about how that guitar is going to be played?
All we can do on the Gibson side is create amazing, iconic tools and designs that people want to play on stage that sound, as good as they look. That's the idea.
In winemaking, one of the choices that gives me artistic license is the choice of wood. In our world, it's different kinds of oak and how that wood impacts the wine. How does different wood change the tonality of a guitar or change the expression?
The reason we have different models, different shapes, different materials is it's like the same result. You can make the same song on different models of guitars. It's just a different flavor profile, if you will. If you're a beginning guitarist, you may not hear the difference between a rosewood back guitar or a maple back guitar or a mahogany back guitar. But over time, you begin to associate different timbres to primary wood that the guitar is made from. People don't realize the lengths that we go to. We're really wanting to find woods that not only sound great, but are going to be sustainable for the next generation and the next generation.
Which is a lot like what I do in winemaking, where different areas of the Napa Valley have their own unique character. And my job is to understand that and to highlight it and then create wines that express that.
Yep.
So we can't show that in a video, but what we can show is that difference in the guitars.
All right.
Would you indulge me? One of my favorite songs ever is Over the Hills and Far Away, which I know one of these guitars has some history with.
Well, yeah, Jimmy Page, one of my absolute favorites. I'm probably going to butcher this, but I'll give you a bit of that song on two different guitars. So he used it on a J200, but I want to start with this J45 over here. This is like our bread and butter model here for acoustic. And it gets this very bass heavy, boomy sound.
Yeah.
All right. Actually, how about this? Tell me to do one of my own, because I'll remember that.
All right. You had mentioned that you have a album that you developed.
It's a cult classic. It's called Rewrite History, because it's a history of rewritten songs. Okay, all right. Well, here's one, and I'm not here to plug an album, so I'm just...
I haven't heard it yet. I'm so proud of you already, so I want to plug it.
So this is a shape that debuted in 1938, the J200, but it sounds a little bit like this.
I want to start singing.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, what's interesting is that guitar has a bigger body, but you're getting a much more boomier character out of the J45.
Yeah.
And what's really cool about the J45 is that it's the guitar that we're going to be designing with Cardinale in mind, and the color scheme and some words that I'm adding to it, and I'm fired up for it.
Yeah, so I could tell you everything about the process of building a guitar. I'd probably tell you everything about, you know, what goes into that guitar, materials, specs, all that stuff. But I'm curious, like, I'm enjoying this beautiful glass of Cardinale. I want to know what went into this, like what makes this unique and what makes Cardinale Cardinale.
You know, talking about guitars and their unique characters in wine, what we talk about often is rarities. You know, we have some of the best vineyards in the Napa Valley that we're drawing grapes from, that we spend an inordinate amount of time thinking about every step of the growing season to drive quality in the grape. But ultimately, it's about letting the grapes speak for themselves and allowing the yeast to do their job and just being a shepherd to both. Mm-hmm. And that's, for us, what creates that enduring value.
Speaking of enduring value, do you want to see the vault?
I would love to see the
All
vault.
Right, let's go take a look. Really, this is where we keep not all of our historic instruments, but the best of the best. And this one has an amazing story behind it, but all you need to know is it was played very lovingly for a long time by a blues musician from Cincinnati, Ohio. And this guitar is affectionately known as Big Ed. But if you feel the neck here, you can actually feel the indent from his thumb.
Wow.
Where he would play his chords. You know, famous, iconic guitarists who, you know, influential in some way to rock and roll, to blues, etc. At some point, it all leads back to the 1959 Les Paul Standard. The value is really tied up in that flamed maple, the tiger maple.
Yeah.
So the more impressive the flame, like this guitar, usually the more valuable, the more collectible. So
it's a beautiful guitar.
Somebody must have been using a pinky pick. They used to have these like metal finger picks.
Which wore that down.
Yeah.
Design here.
Yeah.
Really neat.
I mean, that is as flashy as it gets right there.
What a cool room. So again, a lot like the wine business, when I go to my collectors' homes, they all want to bring me into their wine cellar and show me how they've displayed their wines in a way that highlights the history of their collection and the wines that have resonance throughout the wine industry. And this room reminds me a lot of that. I could go on and on and on and talk to you for days about music and about guitars, but we both have other things that we have to do. But I wanted to thank you so much for this opportunity to learn, to be surrounded by this history and this beauty, just to rap and get to know you better. Thank you.
Thank you for doing what you do and taking the time to spend with me to learn more about what I do. So cheers to that.
Yeah.